meeting is being live streamed. Got it. I'm going to press record here just so we've got that as well. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Lena Robertson. Welcome.
Hi.
So Lena graduated. When did you graduate?
From Bastyr, 2018.
Oh, from the mentorship.
Oh, the mentorship.
Or that's it. We can get into that.
December, end of December.
December. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Amazing. So yeah, Lena has graduated the Wealth Mentorship. We're going to be chatting with her today just about like her whole journey. And as you just found out, she went to Bastyr. But we'll talk about like her transition and her journey and just see what kind of comes up. And yeah, just chat about her experience and also what's going on with her virtual practice now and how life has shifted and changed and all of that. Do you want to kind of introduce yourself, Lena, and just let people know who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I, graduated from Bastyr in 2018, like I already said. I also have a master's degree in acupuncture, bachelor's in biology, and after graduating, I set up a brick and mortar practice because, that was what everyone did. And, it didn't turn out so great. I felt like I was just treading water all the time. Like I just did it solo, invested a ton of money into it. And yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into here?
Yeah, it's like what you said, just around like that's what everybody did. Right.
Yeah.
Like I think that point, like right there is so key. I just went on and did like an Instagram story about this and how like we're only shown such a small number of possibilities,
Right.
like going through school, but also just like societally, it's like, this is what you do. And then this is step 2. And then this is step 3. And like, this is what success looks like. And this is like what your practice should look like. And like, it's just like, so narrow-minded in a sense, like I'm sure there are some people who like that is completely fulfilling and that's exactly what they want, and I'm not like talking crap about any of that, but it's like I wish, looking back now that I know what the possibilities are, and obviously I don't know all the possibilities, but it's like now that I know that there are more possibilities, I'm like, dang, like why didn't anyone share this with us, or like just give us plant the seed that there was something else and not just like being an employee or being an associate or opening up private practice or working with insurance,
Right. And that's kind of how I felt. I was like, going through it when I first joined Bastyr, I was like, yeah, this is going to be so great. Like, I'm going to be a naturopathic doctor, do all the things that you think you're going to do when you become a naturopathic doctor. And then going through the program, I was like, well, I guess I'm going to be a primary care provider, which I wasn't really super excited about, but I was like, okay, I guess that's what they teach you, So when I got out, I was like, well, I don't really want to do primary care and I don't want to be a resident and I don't want to like, just be an employee for someone else. So my only option that I knew was set up something myself, but I mean, they give you 6 months of business training
which is a joke.
And I was like, okay, but until you actually do it, like you have no clue,
None.
And so like I was so lost, like setting up my first business. And like I thought, like as soon as you set up your business, you open your doors and people start coming in. That's not what happens. And I got stuck on this hamster wheel of like, okay, so now I have all this overhead because I've got this expensive clinic. So now I have to work all these side jobs to pay for my clinic, but now I don't have time to work in my clinic because I'm working all these side jobs to pay for it.
That is literally what defines the rat race, right? Where it's just like you're just like trying to like stay on top of all this stuff where you're just like, when does it end? Like, is there a light at the end of this tunnel? Like, what am I working towards here?
Right. And and it got to the point where like I even rented out my clinic to other practitioners, because I wasn't even there half the time. And, and I think that first year I literally worked 7 days a week and made absolutely nothing because it all just went towards my clinic. And I was so exhausted. And I remember like on the days that I could like just sit in my clinic and wait for if someone showed up, I didn't. I would just stay at home because like I just didn't like driving to the clinic and sitting there by myself. It was just like so boring and unfulfilling,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh,
they're
and like depressing, I
it
assume.
was
It's just
so
like
depressing.
you're like seeing all of the money that you invested around you, and
Right.
you're like, what's going on here?
I know. I kept telling my husband, like, with all the money that I've invested in this, like, we could have literally gone to Santorini 3 times, you know? It's
Oh
like,
my
and
gosh.
that's an expensive
Oh,
place. So, you
yes.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Man. So how did like when did you kind of decide that something needed to shift? Like what was the breaking point for you to be like, okay, like this is not working?
Right. I mean, I think I gave it like the first 3 months of like, okay, well, maybe it's because it's October and I really don't know what I'm doing. And, so I was like, okay, well, let's just see how it goes for a few months. But I was getting scared. I was like, oh my God. And then I had signed a year lease. So like, okay, I've got to do this for a year. And then I think it was like right then, like literally like a couple weeks or like a month or something after I did all of this, I invested all this money. Michelle, you should have done your thing earlier. Like
As a few months too late.
2 months too late. Like literally, I think you had just set up your program and had just launched, like trying to like do your first thing, like where Christina like joined and
Yeah,
everything.
the beta
The
ground, the
beta
beta
round,
round.
like you had
Yeah, yeah,
contacted me, like out of like I had no idea who you were.
yeah.
I was checking my Facebook messages and I get this message from you, and it was like all about setting up a virtual practice. And a few of my friends had like done that on their own. But they didn't have like programs like you did or anything. It was just kind of the one-on-one again, right? Just from home. And I was sort of interested in it, like, okay, maybe that's the smarter way to go because you can reach more people and the less overhead. And I liked the idea of just being able to work from home, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so when I saw that, I was like, oh, this actually sounds interesting. And so I messaged you back. We did the call and everything. And but I literally had invested so much money right then and sitting at my practice. Like I was just like overwhelmed, like, oh my God, like this is totally what I want to do. But like I'm not at that space where I can afford it right now because I'm like just treading water. I'm trying to survive here.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think we were in contact for almost a year.
I remember
Yeah.
like checking in, being like, "Hey, Lena, like, how's it
Right.
going?" Because you were like, I think you were like, "I'm gonna set a certain amount aside every
Right.
month and like save up and."
Uh-huh. Yep. And oh my Lord. And I did, but it was like a slow process because I was like trying to support myself, trying to support my business, trying to save for the mentorship. It was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be such
Totally.
a slow process. But I mean, I just had it, my vision was to do it. It just took a little longer. And then at some
Yeah.
point, I feel like I was always going onto you were doing all these Facebook lives at the time, and I was like, okay, what can I at least glean from these, and maybe I can start slowly working towards it on my own.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so like I was asking you, like, what labs do you do? Like, how do you do that as far as your license? Like I started just like asking questions. And I was like, well, maybe I can like, because I kind of had an idea of what I wanted. So I was like, well, maybe I can just do it on my own. And that's kind of when I started being like, okay, let me just try it on my own. Oh my Lord. And so so I've like literally, you've like seen me through like the whole spectrum of everything.
Totally.
And
Totally. It's been such a crazy transformation.
right. And so I was like, okay, so I'm doing my program. It's going to be I'm going to like sort of follow what Michelle's doing without all the information. Just like lean a little bit here and see what I can come up with. Right. And so I started like trying to like work out my program and everything. And then I started thinking, oh, holy shit, like this is going to take forever. Like doing like all these forms. I'm going to have to like build all these forms, all these protocols. Like, and at the time, like I was not, I'm, I know you don't like me to say I was not good at social media, but
I was getting better at social media.
But
It was not my zone of genius.
It was definitely not my zone of genius. Like I had no clue what I was doing at the time. And I knew I had to if I was going to be online. Like I knew I got to do this. So I saw like all these gaps in so many places that I was like, okay, this is really going to take a long, long time. So then I kept telling you like in 6 months, in 6 months, if I haven't done it, then I'll join the mentorship program. And so finally 6 months came around, I think. So it had been like a year and a half by then,
Yeah. Oh
I
my
think.
goodness.
And I did like your 5-day, workshop.
Yeah. That's actually coming up again next week, by the way.
Right. Do it.
So
It's
cool.
great. It helped me like see, okay, so like what exactly is included, in the program, and how
Yeah.
exactly, do you work through this? So
Mm.
I did that, and it was super helpful. I got a little bit more more understanding of the labs. And then I think I still didn't enjoy it right away. I was still like, maybe I can try this on. I was a stubborn person. And
It happens.
it
Some
happened.
I feel like a lot of us are, right? Because we're just
Right.
like we're so ingrained. Like it's just again like a societal construct where we're like we can do it on our own. Like I can do it on
Right.
my own. Like I don't need anybody. I don't like da 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 da. Da. Or it's like hard to ask for help or admit that we need help. Or even I
Mhm.
mean even if it comes to the money, it's like it's difficult to invest in ourselves, right? Like we
Right.
see this time and time again with our patients and our clients. It's like they'll throw 10K down for their kid or their partner or like their dad or like anybody in their family, but to invest
Right.
that in themselves, it's like, it's just
Mhm.
like the hardest
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah. And I feel like part of it for me was because like I had just invested like $15,000 into setting up my brick and mortar clinic. So I was like, and
Yes,
that was a failure. Like, what if I do this again and it's another failure, I was like, I had
totally,
like that,
totally.
like, how you get conditioned based on
Yeah,
past
it was like a
experiences.
PTSD, right?
Right.
It was like
I was like,
investment
oh
PTSD.
no. Right. So that
Yeah.
was one of the problems. But I think one of the things that really hit me personally that you were saying is like, okay, you were probably like, okay, it's time. You know, we've been chatting for a year and a half now.
Lena, it's now or never.
It's now or never. Yeah. And you were like, you can either invest your time or you can invest your money. And, time you can't get back. Money you can get back, And I started like that really made me think like, okay, yes, I've been saying that I'm going to be doing this for a year and a half, and I had literally done barely anything,
And you would have done the program 3 times over by that point.
Right, right. I was like, okay, all right, maybe she has something here. And so then I finally was like, okay, we're just doing this. And so I did it. I was just like, okay, it's happening now. For some, like the universe knew I was supposed to do it, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah.
And so I finally jumped in, I did it. And oh my gosh, I was like, I remember when I signed up, I was like, wow, this has like all the things that I need. And yeah, I mean, you start off with like the mindset. And I feel like for me, that was like a big thing. And I knew it, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to skimp on this. Like I knew like I definitely had mindset issues. And like, who's really going to pay me that much, and just like,
Right.
am I
Like a lot
worthy?
around money mindset,
Right. I had
right?
a, like,
Yeah.
obviously I had a lot of wrong money mindset, like not wanting to invest, like,
You're
you
not
know,
alone. That's like one of the most common ones, right? I mean,
uh,
it's again, it's like the societal conditioning. And also I
right.
just think it's like that healer complex too of like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't charge that much or like,
Right.
that's criminal or someone's going to think I'm a scammer because I'm charging that much or
Mm-hmm.
whatever story we come up with, right? It's
Right.
like there's so much money. We have so much emotion, so much story tied up in money. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it, most of it comes just from like our upbringing and yeah,
Right.
it's wild. It's wild. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, you go through all the functional labs, you set up a protocol that actually works. And so it was really interesting to see because I feel like if I would have like based off of the information you were giving me, through the Facebook lives, like, okay, you do, I knew which labs you ran,
Mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm,
like how you like organize it, put it together, how you do your protocols, like, you don't,
mm-hmm,
do cellular detox until after gut. Like I feel like that kind of stuff,
mm-hmm.
like I would have just gotten all wrong. I would have just did it the wrong way,
Let's do everything all at once.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it definitely helped, give me clarity. I think that was the biggest thing it did. It's like gave me clarity. Like I
Mm-hmm,
knew what I wanted. I just needed like a framework. And the nice
mm-hmm,
thing about your framework is that, other great things about the program that really helped me was, just doing all the information about social media, like how to show up on social media. You do all these, the office hours, which I thought was great. Even Christina, you know, like I'd be like showing her my phone through the Zoom, like, okay, so how do you do a highlight? How do you do a story? Like, and she's like
Oh,
showing me with
good.
her phone, you know, through the Zoom. Like, oh my Lord. There was
Oh,
definitely a
I
lot of
love
learning.
that. So good.
So yeah.
Wow. So good. So one of the things that I loved about you when you came into the program, Lena, is like you had this vision of creating a program around hair and like
Right.
focusing on that, which I think is so cool because I think it's such a beautiful example of how you can take the framework that I provide, like inside of the
Mhm.
mentorship, which has nothing to do with hair, right? But
Right.
everything to do with hair, as you
Right.
know. But it's like that's the beauty is like you get to take your passion and like your special sauce and what really excites you and the type of people that you want to be working with and really like overlay that onto the sort of structure blueprint that I create, right? So you got to
Right.
create a program that like and I know now you've kind of like
I
pivoted also, and
pivoted.
we can talk
Yeah.
about that, which
Sure.
again, I feel like we could just like talk on and on because so many times I think people, one, either don't have a clue of like who their niche is or who they want to work with or how they want to serve. And two, sometimes they think they want to work in one area and that's like the direction they go. And then they almost have this, what is that term? Sunk cost, or do you know what I'm talking about? Where you like
Yeah.
invest a certain amount of time and energy into something to where you're like, well, I guess I'll just stick with this. And then instead of like
Yeah.
actually pivoting, but it's
Right.
like, it's totally okay to pivot. I was actually talking to someone about this today, where it's like, as you start to move towards one direction, like you might realize that, oh, wow, actually, like this is what really excites me. And
Right.
what's really cool is that sometimes you won't get to that other piece
Hmm.
unless you have that targeted focus energy towards one direction, right? Because
Right.
otherwise it's just like scattered all over the place. But once you
Hmm.
start focusing that energy, that's when like I feel like the magic happens. Do you want to talk about
Right.
that
Yeah,
like
sure.
progression and like your own kind of journey through that?
Yeah. So when I had my brick and mortar clinic, I knew I didn't want to be a primary care provider. So I kind of focused on all the things I got extra training in and that I was interested in. So like hormones, digestive health, you know, aging, things like that. And so many of the clients that I did attract in my brick and mortar clinic were postmenopausal women, and a lot of them had hair issues. And just throughout my life, people have come to me for hair. Like, what do you do for hair? You know? So, you know, when I first was in contact with you before I signed up, like I already had my niche that was, okay, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the online space. And this is what I'm going to do. So when I joined your program, I was like, okay, this is my focus. This is what I'm going to do. And your program literally is the framework for pretty much anything that you can. And then you just add to it. So like, you know, my six things that I did was like environmental toxins, hormones, nutrient deficiencies, inflammation, infection, and I can't remember what the other thing was. But so anyways, I had my six things, and the program literally deals with all of those things. And then I just added the extra thing of like, and we're going to look at like hair products and like how you can, you know, just focus a little bit more on the hair, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I was putting myself out there. I like created my whole program through the mentorship program. Like, and I launched towards the end of the program. And oh my gosh, I got so much response to my program. But the funny thing was, is that everybody who contacted me didn't care about the hair part. Like, they're like, we want to do your program. We love your program. We don't have hair issues. I was like, okay. But they were like, you know, my ideal clients, like when I was talking to these people, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I like love working with you. You know, you are my ideal client if you, especially if you had hair issues, but you don't have hair issues, and I'm not going to turn you away, you know. so
Mm-hmm.
so you know, I signed up, you know, my clients, and even though they didn't care about the hair part, and then I was like, all right, so like maybe I need to do some pivoting here. And since I love working with these people, and you know, even when I had my brick and mortar clinic, like I loved the aging thing. So I was like, I'm just pivoting because
Mm-hmm.
this is the population who I am attracting and who I love working with. So I totally pivoted. And the nice thing was that I literally had everything set up. Like my whole, I
Yes.
mean, of course, you know, I went through the program again just to make sure I wasn't missing things, like, you know, like going
Mm-hmm.
like who am I talking to? Because obviously I had to change a few things there too. change a few things on my Power PDF,
Mhm, mhm.
Other than that, like the program is literally the same. Like I'm still doing
Yes.
exactly the same thing,
Yes. That's like the beauty of it, right?
Right.
It's like that it really is just about like the messaging, tweaking the messaging. Because
Right.
even it's like, yes, initially your focus was hair, but it wasn't like your whole all your protocols were different and
Yeah.
like just doing like hair things. Cause like as we know, as holistic practitioners, it's like everything, the cells, the
Right.
cellular health matters, right? So you still want to go through that same sort of client transformation timeline that we go through in
Right.
the mentorship, but you're right, like it really is, it's just tweaking that messaging and then redirecting that
Mhm.
to your ideal client so that it's like,
Right.
okay, now they know that I'm talking to them.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So it was super exciting. And, I was just, and like you give all the forms, and obviously, you change some of the stuff for that, like the protocols. So it literally saved me probably years of my life trying to work on all this stuff. And, it was just amazing. Like when I came out of the mentorship, when I was done, not once did I think, oh gosh, like I wasted my time and my money here. Like not once. I was like, wow, like this is
Aw,
probably the best investment I've made, in a very
aw.
long time. So yeah, it was amazing. And I just thank you so much for creating it for us. And yeah.
Oh man, no, I mean, it's been like such a joy to have you. And just like, I mean, as you know, the community too inside the
Right.
mentorship is just like,
Mhm.
it's like there's a
Right.
certain, it's like going back again to like ideal client, right? Like I have an ideal client for
Mhm.
the mentorship, right? And it's like
Right.
those are the women that are attracted to this mentorship and who come into the container. And it's just like such a cool group of people. Like every time a new
It
woman
is.
comes in, I'm just like, where did she come from? Like this is so cool. Like, and
Right.
it's just, yeah, the community I feel like is so, I love it. I love it so much. The amount of support, accountability, and all that stuff. But
Yeah. And I still communicate with, like you have an accountability partner. I still communicate with her every week. Like we check in with each other, like we're friends.
I
I would have,
love
I would
that.
have never met like my accountability partner, Brandy. She's in Florida. I would have never met her otherwise,
Who is your accountability partner again?
Brandy, Brandy.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So cool.
So
Ah,
yeah.
that's so good. So what would you say, just like, I don't know, do you have like a highlight? I know we've talked about a lot of like
Right.
really cool stuff, but is there something that really sticks out to you, just like that maybe was like above and beyond expectations, or like something that you were just like, whoa, that surprised me.
Yeah. I mean, everything, everything's like, you like, like, to be honest, like when you're investing money into a program, like you figure it's going to be a good program. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, here I go. Like I'm investing in this, but until you actually go through it, you don't really know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. It's a risk, right? It's
It
like
is.
you are really are going out on a limb, right?
Right.
And we talk about this inside the mentorship where before someone invests in you, you have to build up that know, like, and trust factor, right? And
Right.
it's like, if you don't have that, like, it's really difficult for people to invest in you, right? And
Yeah.
you almost have to feel this like mutual investment, almost like I'm
Right.
investing in you, like you're
Mhm.
investing in me, and there's just like really beautiful exchange that happens. But it's scary,
Right.
it's going
Right.
into the unknown, right? And
Mhm.
so many people have not made that type of investment before on anything other than maybe like a
Right.
car or a house, or like, something like a
Right.
major investment. And
Mhm.
yeah, it can be scary.
Yeah, it definitely can. But I mean, I feel like there just everything just had value. Like you have, the mindset thing for me was like I wasn't expecting that. I mean, it probably
Mhm.
said it somewhere like when I was signing up, like this is included, but like it didn't like register like, oh wow, this is really what I need and this is why I'm signing up. But when I did, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, wow, this is really why I need to sign up. And
Wow. Yeah.
and so definitely that, um, during the office hours, you bring in like the DNA company, like they do try,
Mhm.
talk. So you get a lot more
Mhm.
information about, the labs that you're doing. So things like that were helpful. The office hours were absolutely helpful because,
Mm.
even just trying to figure out Practice Better, which is the platform that you use and which I'm using,
Mhm. Mhm.
I didn't really know how to use it. And so just asking questions, and you screen share and just going through the labs too. Like I ran them on myself, like, okay, what would you do in this situation? So like the clinical aspect of it, and then yeah, just everything.
Yeah, I do really like, it's so wild how like just energetically things always happen like in clusters. Like today I was just talking about how a lot of things that a lot of times practitioners are actually hesitant to join the program and move forward because of their own health, and like, oh, I'm not healthy enough to like do this or pursue this or to guide people through some type of journey. And that's why exactly like what you were saying, like I encourage practitioners to run these labs on themselves and actually go through that process, because it's so enlightening. Like not just like, you not only get the experience of the lab collection, interpreting the results, creating the protocols, but like you get to enhance your own health throughout that process too, which I think is like just really, really, really powerful if you take advantage of it, right? And you're in a community of practitioners where you've got also alternative perspectives, right? We've got chiropractors, naturopaths, acupuncturists, nurse practitioners, like we've got a whole slew osteopathic physicians like in there. So it's really cool to just have some like a well-rounded perspective. I think it's like kind of a cool way to,
and even doing the labs on myself, I feel like I've been a pretty healthy person my whole life. And it was just like, whoa, like, does I really have that?
Right?
Like, oh my Lord. Right. So
it's like the beauty of preventive medicine, right? Of like, oh, wow, like this is why we don't wait until something like really bad happens.
Right. It's like, yeah, you may not, you may feel fine, but there is some stuff going on there,
Some stuff going on. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's such a beautiful demonstration for you to like embody as a practitioner. So you can actually explain that and share that with your clients and patients, right? Because it's like you really, I feel like a lot of times we know things logically, like in our head, but like to actually go through it ourselves and apply it and like experience it, that's when we embody it. That's when we become a better practitioner, better teacher, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And like that piece is just, yeah, it's really, really key to be like, yeah, illness and health they're like these insidious processes. They're very slow, right? So it's like every day, if our health is declining, every day that becomes our new normal. Right. So it's like we don't even realize, like we forget what it feels like to be a 10 out of 10. And we're like sitting at a chilling just at a 6 out of 10 thinking we're good, and then it's like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's powerful, super powerful.
And even just the clients that I have now, they're like so amazing. Like, I mean, I enjoyed working with my one-on-one, clients in my brick and mortar, but I felt like, like a lot of them, I was kind of, it was like pulling teeth to like get them to come in. And then also like to make a payment, it was like, well, I can't afford this. Like, can I have discounts? So I was like always discounting, it's like, oh my God, how am I supposed to support myself like this? So these clients, they're like, I did my client call with, my second client. And I was like, I just told her the price. She didn't balk about it. She was just like, sign me up. I was like, wow, is it really that simple?
Yes, yes, it is. So, yes, it is.
And this, this is someone I had never met before. Like I was just showing up on social media faithfully. And it just happened to be that somebody that I knew on Facebook shared my post onto their wall. And then someone they knew contacted me. I was like, wow,
And that's how it starts.
Right. And now that they're going through the program, like I did the lab review consult with them and they are just like blown away. They're like, oh my gosh, like I need to get my husband on board, things like that.
Yes. So like so many good points here. Like one, just the fact that you enjoy your clients. Like, that's something else I feel like in school, no one talks about that. You just accept everybody who comes through your door and schedules a new patient consult or whatever. And you're just like, well, yes, this is my new patient.
Even if you have anxiety every time you see them,
Exactly. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's just like, it's almost like I just have to take this person on, and it's like that's such a different feeling when it's like everybody you get to work with and serve are like people that you enjoy being around. And on top of that, like you were saying, there's better like compliance. There's better follow through for a couple of reasons. One, because they're energetically aligned with you, right? So they trust you, they know you, like they respect you, all of those things. But also, like they get to see this well-rounded, amazing presentation of the labs. Right. And then they're also invested monetarily. Right. And it's like, I always tell people, it's like, to be invested, you need to invest.
Exactly.
And it just like, it's like a win-win-win situation.
Right.
You know, they win, you win, you're stoked, you're giving from overflow instead of from sustenance. They're getting results because you're actually investing in them, investing time and energy. And like, it's like, there's, in my opinion, like, there's just no better way of doing that.
Right. And even taking that further, just like investing in the mentorship program, like I was like, okay, wow, I've invested all this money. Like I better get through it. You know?
Right. Right. That's it. The perfect example, right? Well, like, okay, like I really invested in this. Like I need to like actually invest in this and like
and I was like, okay, I am doing this. I don't care if I'm tired. You know, it's
exactly
like
right.
So like
right, because if you like, for example, if you paid $1,000 for the program, you may not have finished it. Right. You might have been like,
yeah,
whatever,
down the line.
I'll do it later. Yeah, I'll do it next month or whatever. I'll do it when it's convenient, you know. And then it's just like waits. Yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah, so this time I was like, okay, showing up, like, okay, I'm gonna stay on track. I'm finishing, I'm launching at least by the time the 6 months is over. Yeah, because
yes, so good. Anything else you want to share or talk about, or you want to share about your program, or about your current program?
Yeah, so my first program was the Healthy Hair Method, and it was, you know, all the labs, and then I focused a little bit more on hair, and then I pivoted, and now it's the Aging Method. And and I just love that name. I don't know why.
It's good. It's good.
Right. I remember trying to come up with the name for the Healthy Hair Method. I was having such a hard time coming up with a name. I was like asking you like all the time, what do you think of this name? What do you think of that? I mean, there was just nothing that was like saying yes to me. But this time I was like, wow, like this is a good name, you know?
It's like how you want to feel though, right? Because like you have so much more confidence behind like when you're presenting it or when you're sharing it, when you're like super excited, and it just feels really, really aligned.
Right. Because there's like all this stuff about anti-aging, and you know, I get it. Like people don't want to age, they want to look well and feel well when they age. And I'm like not against that. Like I just don't like the word anti-aging, because you have to age. So just it's gonna happen, you know?
So, like how about we put a positive spin on that instead of it being like a negative, right?
Yeah. And then I do like the alliteration of it, you know. So
of course.
So yeah, it's again the same program. Is just like when I'm talking about it and when I'm working with clients, I focus a little bit more on the brain health, because I didn't do so much. I didn't like really talk so much about the brain health with the Healthy Hair Method, because you know that was like the one thing I wasn't exactly sure how to like connect with
integrate or something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously happening in the program, but as far as like talking about it, but you know, now like it was like, how does this relate? Not sure. But you know, with the program I have now, it's like a lot more focused on you know, the brain aspect versus the hair aspect. So but everything else
cool. So who's your ICA? Like tell us about who your ideal client avatar is, and also just kind of like what, if you want to talk about the details about your program, if you want to share.
Sure. Totally. Yeah. So the Aging Method, it's like, again, a 6-month program that includes all of the 6 functional labs, includes unlimited access to me, you know, one-on-one calls with me, like, you know, it's basically your program. And
your program, Lena.
It's my program, you know. My program.
I just gave you a blueprint.
That's right. It's a blueprint that I've tweaked towards my ideal clients. So my ideal clients are, I'm still kind of tweaking my ICA, you know, just because I pivoted so fast that I've like I redid like some of the interviews, so like I can integrate that into like my help statement. But like it's basically like the Gen X generation, because I had so many men. Like my first one was women. I help women, you know, with hair thing. But then I literally had men contacting me about my hair health program, and not for hair. It's because they wanted to do my program. So I was like, okay, you know. So it's like basically Gen X and baby boomers, but it's, Gen X really for the preventative part, but I'm willing to work with baby boomers too. So it's that. And then, just focusing like based off of the interviews I was doing, a lot of them, were worried about, just prevention for the first part, but then like low energy, worried about brain health, down the line, dementia, weight gain, although I don't really advertise it as weight gain. It's more just, to help with weight. It's just like once you go through the program, that's going to be taken care of too. So I kind of word it as metabolism, right? And then the hormone balancing. So that's like the main things that I advertise it as. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. I love it. Anything else you want to share about your program?
Not that I can think.
Where can people find you on Instagram?
Sure,
or on Facebook?
So I have my personal Instagram, which I use for my business, is Dr. Lena Robertson. But then I also did create an Instagram account specifically that I'm slowly growing for my acing aging, which is just acing aging. So it's pretty easy.
Amazing.
Right.
Yeah. So cool. Thank you so much for hanging out and chatting and just sharing your journey and your story. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
Cool. Well, have a great rest of your evening. Lena's in this group, so I think are you okay if people ask you questions or whatever? Okay, amazing. All right. Well, take care. I will chat with you soon. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great rest of your evening.
You too. Bye. Bye.